How many of you have ever seen a commercial informing people about unexpected and sometimes lethal side effects for a drug that has been distributed to the general public? Some frequent commercials you might have seen as of recently could include those of Yasmin, and Ocella. But how is it that drugs thought to be harmless are, when given to consumers, later discovered to put individuals at more risk than they previously were? Wasn't the purpose of implementing the Food and Drug Administration to ensure Americans that every precaution would be taken when drugs were produced, distributed to us? And isn't the Food and Drug Administration supposed to protect us? And before you today to argue that the Food and Drug Administration's guidelines for the approval of medications have not been stringent enough and have placed us all at risk. First today, I will inform you of the responsibilities that have been delegated to the Food and Drug Administration, as well as some background information regarding the approval process. I also like to highlight some important information that I feel has allowed countless individuals to be put in harm's way. Now, the Food and Drug Administration is an agency of the United States Department of Health and Human Services and is responsible for the safety regulation of most types of foods and drugs. It also regulates other medical devices and products. Under the FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, or the CDER, evaluate new drugs before they can be sold. Drug companies drug in the United States must first test it. The company then sends the CDER the evidence from these tests to prove that the drug is safe and intended use. And a team of CDER scientists. Now, if these independent and unbiased review yields that the drug, then the drug's approved for sale according to the Food and Drug Administration website. Now, through the administration's approval, according to a 2008 report by Express Scripts Incorporated, prescription drugs, the number of prescriptions per person has risen to 14.3 from 10.0 since the year 2000, and incidents supporting my claim. First, I'd like to point out that the Food and Drug Administration is too relaxed. A 2006 survey by the Union of Concerned Scientists reported that 1/5 of scientists felt pressured by the Food and Drug Administration to either change or to exclude information from their scientific documents, according to Wikipedia in 2011. A specific example of the Food and Drug Administration's respite can be seen in the story of the drug Vioxx, according to a study conducted by Breezlar Salon in 2005. Vioxx's pre-approval study indicated that a group taking the drug had 4 times the risk of heart attacks when compared to another group of patients taking another drug, naproxen. The FDA approval board accepted the manufacturer's argument that this was due to a previously unknown effect, cardioprotective effect, of naproxen, rather than to the risk of Vioxx, and the drug was approved. However, in 2005, the results of a randomized placebo showed that Vioxx users suffered higher rates of heart attacks and other cardiovascular disorders than patients taking no medication at all. Now, should doubts about the drugs given to us be overlooked so candidly? Secondly, I like to focus on the fact that the Food and Drug Administration has been slow to recall bad drugs. One example of this is seen in the drug Rezulin, a diabetes drug which was pulled off the market in the United Kingdom in 1997 due to its causing a liver failure. Surprisingly, this same drug wasn't pulled off the United States shelves until the year 2000, according to Wikipedia in 2011. Another article by Drug Watch for this year on the drug Actos, another diabetes drug, also illustrates slow recall of bad drugs. This recall has not occurred in the United States, but it has in Germany and France. Even though Actos has been linked to bladder cancer, heart failure, and blindness, drug regulators have been slow to put the brakes on the medication. Now, why weren't known to cause harm pulled off of the United States market? Finally, I'd like to bring to the fact that the Food and Drug Administration has not tested medications long enough. A quick glance at a timeline produced by the Consumer Justice Group, a group of established lawyers specializing in lawsuits against metal companies, shows that the majority of drugs withdrawn since 1973 were on the market for a year or less. In other words, it didn't take long to notice that these medications were producing undesired effects, and prolonged testing of these medications would have informed us of these effects before we distribute them out to consumers. Now, as with many controversies facing the masses, there is always two sides to each story. In particular, one could argue that by increasing the time required for the approval process of drugs, we would delay efforts to provide assistance to those in need. But what is the point of dispensing medicines to the public that would subdue short-term problems, only to have them later lead to worse or even deadly problems in the long term? In conclusion, I share with you the most important fact I found with the FDA's lack of regulation of medications. Our Daily Med, published in 2009, claims that 100,000 Americans die each year from legal drugs. That's 270 deaths per day. A number twice as high for the number of people killed in car accidents each day. A number far too high. A number that should not exist due to the very fact that the Food and Drug Administration's primary and utmost concern should be that of the American people. Thank you.